We're joined now by Emily, Royal Editor of Hello Magazine. Emily, we've got your final name, Emily Nash. Beg your pardon, Michael Cole from the BBC, both here with us. I'm going to get into some of these beautiful statements we saw last night from family, including Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice. But there's been some voice and vision put out overnight from the Queen Consort, from Camilla, paying tribute to the Queen. We've got a little bit more play and we'll come back to you, Emily.
She has been part of our lives forever. I'm 75 now and I can't remember anybody except the Queen being there. It must have been so difficult for her being a solitary woman. There weren't women prime ministers or women presidents. She was the only one, so I think she carved her own role. She's got those wonderful blue eyes that when she smiles, you know, they light up her whole face. I'll always remember that smile. You know, that smile is unforgettable.
It's a really warm interview from Camilla. We'll see it play out full here tonight. But just that point, it's worth repeating, isn't it? In the very early years of it, or decades of her reign, there would not have been a room that she walked into that wouldn't have been full of suits. We know the Privy Council didn't have women, so that accession council meeting that we saw televised for the first time last weekend, we can't underestimate the enormity of that, can we?
Absolutely not. It was very much a man's world at the time that the Queen came to the throne and was crowned. And she was a woman of 26. And you can't imagine how hard it must have been for her to go in and sort of have authority over these much older men. And yet she did it, not just in the UK, but across the globe. And people were charmed by her. We know that Winston Churchill was charmed by her and won over by her. And she really stood her own ground.
Michael, it's not the cynic in me, it's the flames of a reporter in me that it's very important to get her perspective, but we're also hearing her voice, something we haven't seen for a little while, and that is, of course, the beginnings of get ready for coronation. Royal. Get ready, this is going to be the Queen. In all terms, we'll say Queen Consort over and over again, but she's the Queen.
And, of course, you'll realise that as he is crowned and anointed with holy oil on his breast, she will also be crowned. Now, this is something never been said before on the air. I was there the first time Camilla was in the Queen's presence. It was in 1995 at the Royal Windsor Horse Show. My wife and I were invited to a reception afterwards that the Queen was coming to. We went into the marquee, a little bit like this one, and there was a figure. When I say that she was trembling with fear, she was trembling with fear. And she said to me, Camilla, she said, is it all right if I stand here? Is it all right if I stand here? I said, you stand with us, you'll be okay. She was so persona non grata, Peter. She was out. She was the Prince of Wales's mistress. And we mustn't forget that they married in 2005. It was the coldest day I've ever known in April. The Pope, John Paul II, died the day before, so they put it off. They were worried that there would be demonstrations, tomatoes would be thrown, eggs would be thrown. And Buckingham Palace, this place over here, doesn't issue many statements, but it issued an official statement saying under no circumstances would Mrs. Camilla Parker Bowles, because they were both divorcees, become Queen in due course. Now, 17 years makes a big difference, and the Queen's greatest gift to her eldest son was when she said that it was, the Queen said, it's my sincere wish that Camilla becomes Queen. Well, who is going to go against the Queen's sincere wish? Do you know something? It's great that you're here. These are days of history. This is momentous. This is going to be the greatest gathering of international leaders since the Congress of Vienna after the Waterloo and the Napoleonic Wars, after the Peace Conference in Versailles in 1919. Forget about the General Assembly of the United Nations. This is it. People like the Emperor of Japan, the President of America, they want to be here. They want to be here like these people want to be here. Nobody's going to be bussed down here. Nobody's dragooned down here. They're not told to stand here and wave a flag. This is not North Korea. It's not Putin's parade in Red Square. people come down here, okay, why? Respect, that's a good word, but what about a bigger word, affection, or a biggest word, love? And that's what it's all about, and that is what's so extraordinary. And if you'll allow me, I would like to say I'm so pleased that 10 ordinary but extraordinary Australians are going to be among the people in Westminster Abbey tomorrow. That's great, because if you'll allow me a minute, I'd like to explain, because I went round the world with Her Majesty the Queen for many years. Something is often misunderstood. I was in your country, I was in Adelaide at the University of South Australia, and the Queen was presiding at a graduation ceremony, and there was a sort of pause, and somebody at the back shouted, "Long live the Republic of Australia," you see, just like that.
That's not bad. That is not bad. I'll pay that. I'll pay that.
So our microphone picked up what the Duke of Edinburgh said, and he said, "Sounds like a good idea," just like that. Because Her Majesty, look, the monarch reigns but doesn't rule. Parliament is sovereign. Your Parliament is sovereign. Your Prime Minister is sovereign. What you decide, the monarch naturally supports. So were there to be a vote for a republic, that would be supported by the monarch. What Queen Elizabeth was most interested in was the Commonwealth. It was partly founded by her father. It was called the British Commonwealth initially, the Commonwealth. Now, she really, really believed in that. To the royal family, the Commonwealth wasn't just a nice place to go in the winter for a sunny holiday. She really believed in it. A free association of nations that believe in the rule of law, liberality, freedom to do what we are doing, move around as we are doing. There's tremendous value in having a constitutional monarch, because the monarch is above politics. With the grave exception of the Gough Whitlam affair, the Crown has always kept out. And of course, as you don't need me to know, particularly you, Peter, it's a rough trade, politics in Australia. And it's very good to have a head of state one removed.
I think that's what Australians have come to perhaps better understand, or have been reminded of. This week we've gone from just a fixation or an interest in an individual who wears the crown, to the actual concept of the crown, its continuity, its stability, the fact that we're never without a sovereign. I've got to ask you, Emily, I love Hello Magazine, right? I love Hello Magazine, and I'm sure every time there is a royal figure on the front pages, it runs off the newsstand. It's been the case in Australia, the huge popularity, particularly of the women of the House of Windsor. How are things going to change now that you've basically got, another team coming to the fore, particularly the younger royal members, because the King wants a slimmed down monarchy, but you've got some pretty headline stars still there in the front row.
Well, look, the Duchess of Cambridge is an absolute favourite. Sorry, the then Duchess of Cambridge, the now Princess of Wales, is an absolute favourite for our readers. But interestingly, we have put the new Queen Consort Camilla on our cover in the last few months. And there has been a sea change, as Michael said, attitudes towards her, 17 years ago were very different. And I think people have taken their time to get used to her, but they have seen her for what she is, and she is hardworking. She's very down to earth. She gets on with it. She's never complained, and she has had some awful stuff thrown at her over the years. I think people have seen how happy she's made the King and how successful this union is. It's been 17 years now that they've been very happily married, and I think people realise, that she has a lot to give.
She's helped to ground him, and he's doing the job better because of that, because he's happy. Would we do our jobs well if we were unhappy? Of course he's happier, and he's going to be more content. And she's got a job on her hands. I mean, the episode with the fountain pen, I love fountain pens. I mean, he is a bit tetchy. He can be irascible, but
she's so deaf though. She
knows her.
No, she understands. And I think it's very important, and I love your view on this, because she didn't want to be Queen. She didn't want to be married. She was quite happy to be the mistress, in exactly the same way as Mrs. Wallace Simpson didn't necessarily want to marry King Edward VIII. It was he who insisted. And of course, it was Prince Charles who said, Camilla is non-negotiable for me. I think everybody, these are people, are human beings, and actually we must say, these people are grieving in public with the world's eyes upon them. Never been such a television event of this kind. And they're doing extraordinarily well. But they are human beings. It is a family. You're right to feature the statements from members of the family. And it's something which is hugely inclusive. I mean, I wrote my first royal story when I was 19. That was 1962. The Queen was only 10 years into her reign. Everybody around the world, I think I'm right in saying, reflects in a way their own lives on the royal life. You know, I had the daughter was born at this time, or when the Queen was doing this. And it's a very natural thing.
They're our chronology. They're our life chronology.
They are, and it's a way of reflecting on your own life and your own mortality.
Emily and Michael, thank you very much. Your contributions have been magnificent. We look forward to chatting in the next little while.